the fact that I coached 1A right out the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a graduate assistant at the University of North Carolina for Mac Brown, and his brother Watson had just taken the UAB job, and the way I got the job is I agreed to work for free for 6 months, and so that helps you get your first quote unquote 1A job. I made $17,000 a year, and I lived in a 500 square foot apartment, and candidly, it was probably some of the most enjoyable coaching days I've ever had. But to your point, I was very, very fortunate to do that. And I think that most of that, you start a leg up. My father was in football for 50 years, yeah, so absolutely. Without that, I don't think that happens.
And you started saying that you wanted to coach like at an early age.
Yeah. So my dad tells me when I was a little boy, I immediately wanted to start doing it. I was very fortunate as a child in that I was exposed to. So I had some tremendous advantages, and I saw how coaches reacted with the players, and I saw the players reacted to the coaches. And I was around the Sooners a lot in the 80s, and obviously Coach Switzer is very much a player's coach, and just watching him interact with his team and his team interact really motivated me to want to be in this vocation.
What's the adjustment phase been like so far through the spring?
For the spring, for me,
yeah,
from my off the field role to now, it's been good. I feel my time is a lot tighter, as you might imagine. I used to have really nice. I used to come cruising by your media conferences on my way to work out, and I go to work out for a long time, and then I come back, and that's done. That's not happening. So I really have to watch what I eat. So that's an adjustment part, but. I worked with Chris Ash 10 years ago at San Diego State, and I wasn't with him very long, and I figured out this guy's a little different. This guy sees a little bit more than most of us see. He's a little sharper. So every day when I get to go into the room with the guys I'm working with right now, I really enjoy being back in the room, able to coach, but also just listening to their thoughts and gathering their information, and that part has been really, really motivating for me. Some of the details, some of the things that I had coached, felt like I've done a good job coaching for 10, 15 years. I'm learning ways to improve that just by sitting in the room with these guys, because you guys talk to Chris as much as anybody. You guys know how, his vision is broad and deep, and it's a privilege to be able to work with someone like that, someone who you consider a friend and a mentor, and so that part of the transition has been very good. But I do feel like my time is tight. I feel like I'm always at 100 miles an hour, and that's just major college football today.
From a football standpoint, Tyreek Maddox-Williams, how does he bounce back from the injury?
I like what I see with Tyreek right now. I think he's moving very well. It's my opinion that sometimes an injury has a physical recovery, and it also has an emotional or mental recovery. And I would say we're more on the emotional, mental side of it now. But he's cutting well. He's running well. There are occasional times where I feel like he's hurting a little bit, where there's some swelling in there and things like that, which is very normal, I think, for that. And so I'm trying to trim his reps at times to make sure that he is as healthy as possible, so that we can get him to the summer and then to August and then to week 1 as healthy as possible. But I foresee, the trainer would be a better guy to ask, but from what I'm seeing from him and the vibe I feel from him, he's going to be 100 miles an hour when we hit August 1st.
What do you see out of Malik Dixon?
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch, isn't he? First thing you notice is his range. He's really, really long, Stretch Armstrong, and he's got really long levers and a long frame. You can tell he's got a lot of DB skills, and he's been trained as a third-level defender. But we're asking him to play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. So he's going through an adjustment period right now, and our offense is doing a great job of constantly bringing that Sam Backer into the box and making him basically prove his manhood on the line of scrimmage, for lack of a better term. And so there's some adjustment there. And I think for a tall player, like for you, it's going to be hard for you to get your pads down. It's just harder for taller people to get their pads down. And so we're adjusting with that. As a DB, you aren't as exposed to that as often. And so we're going through an adjustment phase there. But like today at practice, he made a couple of really nice plays on the ball. He had a nice pick to kind of close out practice. And his ball skills, the DB parts of his game are very advanced. And he's really accelerated his learning curve on the backer part of his game, but we still have work there.
Got time for two more?
At the Jack, what have you seen from Lumore?
Yeah, first thing you notice about Elam is he's a beautiful looking kid now. I mean, just he's the way you picture in your mind. That's what you want an outside backer to look like. Elam has times where he absolutely flashes on film and really looks sharp. And then there are some times where he fades a little bit. And so right now I'm trying to help him be more flash than fade. And that's just going to be a work in process. My coaching style tends to be a little bit slower, much to the chagrin of many of my bosses. But I'm going to up-coach my guys, and I believe that Elam is very receptive to my style. And the more I can connect with those guys, the faster that maturation process will occur.
What's the best piece of advice your dad ever gave you going, through the coaching thing, not to do, maybe follow his path
my dad is a good dad. My dad never pushed me anywhere. Candidly, I'm pushing my kids to, maybe stay out of the sports business. Sure. But my father, I can't say that he necessarily gave me any one true piece of advice, but the thing that he taught me as his son was simply, if you communicate with me, I can help you. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell my players. Say, if we're messed up in class or if we late to a tutor, just tell me about it. I can help you. It's not that I won't fuss at you. And so I certainly take that forward, but I try and use my father's work ethic and my father's approach. You want to talk about a dude with some wide vision. I mean, as a coach, I'm like a microscope, very tunnel visioned. He sees things on the conference level. Yeah. And so in that respect, he and I don't communicate as seamlessly as you might imagine because, I'm focused on outside backers and specialists and special teams and playing defense, whereas he's focused on TV contracts and mergers and, things like that. So in that respect, we don't have as much crossover, but my dad reads all your stuff. So he's going to read it, whatever you write here, because he's retired now, so he reads it all. He reads the blogs. I talk him out of it. But, so he's a football fanatic. And so every day he's asking me the same questions. Tell me about Malik Dixon. Tell me about Elam. Tell me about how T1 is. T1 coming on. And, so he's just as bad as the biggest fan as you can find out there.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.